Folks, I've said this for years. People still love faith just as long as they don't have to use theirs. Now, you know what that's an indictment of? The ministers. That's what we've done to you people. We've made you feel like you're not good enough. You got to do more. Even in the Word of Faith camp, we've literally politicized it so much and brought in so much religion and tradition that the greatest majority of people in the Word of Faith camp can't get a prayer answer to save their life. Because it's works. It's religion. And real Christianity has nothing to do with that. Look at what it says right here. Verse 15 to verse 17. Well, I can't believe you said that. Yeah, I'm sure it's live streamed too. You'll ruin your ministry. Good. I'm ready to get out. Do you know how many people have told me in the last 30 years, you're going to lose your ministry? I said, well, then good. Let's lose it. I didn't call me anyhow. You could lose your ministry doing something like that. That's what I've heard people say to me forever. The Lord showed me a vision getting ready to preach to 300 youth. And I said yes, which I couldn't believe I said yes. Because after I said yes, then I said to myself, oh my God, you don't do youth. You're not even cool. So I called up the youth guy and I said, what are the words people use today? Because we used to use cool, man, cool, back in the 60s and 70s. What do they use? He said, fresh and tight. I said, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. All these years later, that's all they could come up with? Because, fresh is when you're too fresh and a girl slaps you, or when, it's a fresh, smells fresh because it just rained, and tight is when you ate too much and it's tight. I said, I can't use those words. And then I said to myself, oh my God, I'm going to be just so boring and they're not going to want to listen to me. Lord, I need an equalizer. And when I said that, I had a vision. And in the vision, I saw myself challenge the strongest man in that room to an arm wrestling match. And I used the anointing to whip him. And I challenged the whole room to say, if I can't whip this man, I'm leaving right now. Get yourself another speaker. Well, my family was so excited. We had 2 girls at that time, and Aaron, they were little, and here they were going to fly all of us down to Panama City Beach, and there we were right on the beach, and Commander Kelly, which is Copeland's daughter, was doing, the kids, so they were going to have such a fun time, swim in the afternoon, be on the beach, Dad's preaching, everything's paid for. What an amazing trip. I was so excited when God gave me that vision. I couldn't wait to go home and tell my wife. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, because when you see a vision, man, you're just pumped in that vision, So I went home and told Erin, the whole afternoon, I'm like, wow, this is going to be amazing. And I told her what the Lord showed me and what I was going to do. And she looked at me, she goes, you really going to do that? And for the first time I thought, oh, I don't know. Am I really going to do that? And so I struggled back and forth, whether I was going to do that, whether I wasn't going to do that for about 2.5, 3 months. And all of a sudden there were some friends that came to us that were from that church. And I thought the perfect opportunity is to tell them, because it's their church, what I'm going to do. And when I did, I got a lecture about how I could lose my ministry. Because you got to know that 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 you got to know. All I needed was one. Right? You're going to lose your ministry. So I looked at him and said, it's just so very important that you guys came here. Thank you so much for giving me the information you gave me. Oh my goodness, what would I have done without it? And they said, well, we're so glad we could help. I said, thank you so much. Well, we love you. I love you too. We're going to go on up to bed. As they walked up the stairs, I said, hey, just one last thought. They said, yeah. I said, I'm going to do it. They said, what? Why are you going to do it? I said, because you said I could lose my ministry. I said, I thought this would be a really good time to do it. Lose my ministry. I said, then I can go do something else. And they just shook their head. So anyhow, we had an amazing meeting. Do I have to tell you what happened? Oh, you're so ridiculous. Amen. So I get in that meeting. Of course, Erin was all full of faith. She sat in the front. No, she sat right by the door so she could get out as fast as possible. No, I'm just kidding. That's probably not why she sat back at the door. But anyhow, here we are in this meeting, and I'm looking around because I have to pick, find out who the strongest man in the room is, and the worship leader doesn't even have a neck. It was a head on top of like a cement pole or something, It just went like this, a couple of bumps and another bump. He had a a golf shirt on, and it couldn't get past the valley because the mountains were too big. It was like this big arm, and the shirt was stuck right in there. And when he would say, let's lift our hands and worship God, it's like he did this to me. And I'm looking at him going, oh, shoot, man, this guy is so buffed. Oh, my God, big dude. And so I got up there, took the microphone, and I said, now we're going to do things a little differently here. I said, I'm going to challenge the strongest man in this room to an arm wrestling match, and if I can't whip him and whip him good, I said, I'm leaving in the matter of the next 10 to 15 minutes. You can get somebody else to do this meeting. All the kids, 300 of them, are just looking at me like this. I said, so who's the strongest man in the room? And they all pointed to this guy. You know what his name was? Andre. Like, was this a setup? You say, what do you mean? Andre the Giant. Remember years ago when all the WWE stuff started? It's like David and Goliath. It's perfect. And now my mind's going, sure, his name is Andre. Sure. So then I looked at him and I thought, if I can say real sassy and real tough like, maybe he'll just say, hey, man, I'll pass. And then we can just go on to the meeting, So I said, hey, Andre, you, right over there with the big arms. I said, I'm going to whip you. I'm letting you know right off the bat. Right in front of all these 300 kids. I said, so if you dare to get up and come down here, then you come down here to get your whooping. And shoot, he got up. And he started walking toward me. Now, as you've noticed, I've been walking. You haven't heard the friction of my thighs rubbing together. But he had telephone poles down there, so he'd walk like this. His big arms, and remember, no neck. And here he comes. The whole time he's coming to me, I'm thinking, oh, shoot, Jim, you're such an idiot. You know what's going on right now in heaven? I mean, this is what God does to me. He does things like this to me. I said, what's going on right now in heaven is David just caught a glimpse of this, goes, oh, my God, is that Hockaday? Oh, this is going to be, what are you going to have him do? He's going to arm wrestle him in front of it. Oh, my God, Elisha, you guys got to come. Quick, this is good. It's Hockaday again. Come on, this is going to be really. And so everybody's up there going like this. This is awesome. And here he comes, and he's walking to me. 10 feet away, right where Pastor is. All of a sudden, he's walking like this to me, like this, and all of a sudden he stops. And he just starts to go like this. And he looked at the kids, and then he looked at me, and I saw his eyeballs go, da-ding, da-ding, ding, 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 like a pinball machine. They just crossed, and he just looked bewildered, and all of a sudden, the power of God dropped on him. And when I saw that, I said, come on, you want a piece of me, big boy? See, you're feeling it now. You know what I mean? And he walked to me, and he would not have passed the DUI test. It was like this. And I knew I had him because God was on him. And we grabbed hands in front of those 300 youth, and when I looked back, 300 were in the first 3 rows, stacked 4 and 5 high. With eyes like, oh my God, look at what we're seeing. I looked at the pastor over there. He was in Cheyenne, Wyoming for a while. That was Marcus and Paige Whitman. I looked at Marcus and I said, come on over here and referee. He came over, and the moment he touched our hands, God was on us so much, he fell over on Andre. I looked at him and said, get off of him. I don't need your help. And he started us, and I just played with him because he had nothing. Oh, my God, oh, no, you're not. Oh, you're almost, no, you're not. And the kids are just like, because he's over there, but there was nothing. It was like there was nothing in his arm. And remember, the valley, his big arm, no neck, but there was nothing in it. And so I finally said, here goes, kids, watch this, like that. And when I did that, those kids took off running, and miracles happened. Bodies were healed. Minds were set free. They literally ran all over that room, shouting and praising God. We had ourselves an amazing meeting. See, that's Christianity. What part of it is Christianity? That you arm wrestle people? No. That you walk with God. You hear God. You enjoy God. Listen to what this quickly says, and we'll be done in a few moments here, so stay connected. This resurrection life you've received from God is not a timid, grave-tending life. It's adventurously expectant, greeting God with a childlike, "What's next, Papa?" Why does a child say, "What's next, Papa?" Because of what you just experienced. Right? What's next, Papa, means I already had an amazing time. I want to have another amazing time. It doesn't say, what else should I read? What more should I study? What more should I confess? How many more hours do I need to pray? When will I get my faith, Lord? When can I have an answer? Oh, God, I want to have perfect attendance. That's what we've related to as Christianity. That's why you don't have the experience of forever staying in your honeymoon. Why we expect somebody that's bouncing off the walls when they got saved to continue to bounce. Because you know how it just goes downhill. The more you try to do to be something, then the less exciting it is, because it takes it out of the interaction with a person over into a job. It's not Christianity. What's next, Papa? Listen to this. John 10. You know how Jesus went on to say, the shepherd and the sheep? What did he say about the sheep? They know me, they hear me, they follow me. But the voice of a stranger, they will not follow. I saw a video on this. Oh, please stay here for just a couple more moments. I saw a video on this. It was people that were tourists getting out of a tour bus over in Ireland or Scotland, one of the two. And there was this old, cobblestone fence that comes up to about your thigh, the old ones, put together with stone and mortar. And behind that was an electric fence, barbed wire fence. And in the pasture was about 30 or 40 sheep. And the people were calling to him, but the sheep just stayed in that direction, which means what the people were seeing was this direction. Did you get that? Okay. And the more they called to him, not one sheep lifted the head to look and see what knuckleheads are calling us. But they all stayed pointing that way with their rear ends pointing at the people. Do you remember what Jesus said? The sheep will not know the voice of a stranger and will not follow him. But in from the side comes the shepherd, and the moment he said one thing, every little sheep lifted their head and looked and then pranced over to him, all of them. And all of a sudden caught the revelation. Those sheep weren't trained to know the shepherd. That's a part of a sheep's DNA. Like a dog barks and a cat meows, sheep know their shepherd, they recognize his voice, and they follow him. They are good at following him, they are good at his voice, and they are good at knowing him because God put that in their DNA. They don't have to be trained. The moment you get saved, the moment God comes in you, you have a GPS from heaven that will always follow him, always know him, always hear him, always recognize. And you don't have to train yourself. You just have to get out of religion. Religion puts you in a works to get something. And anytime you try to have something and work, listen closely to this, you try to work for something that you have, you devalue the thing that you have. I'm working for my healing, but you're already healed. So the more you work, the more you say, I don't believe Jesus healed me. I'm sorry that I screamed. I woke the baby. Jesus said, my sheep know me, my sheep hear me, my sheep follow me. Listen to this, Romans 10, 6-11. In the Message Bible says, when Jesus died, he took sin down with him, but alive, he brings God down to us. From now on, think of it this way. Sin speaks a dead language that means nothing to you. God speaks your mother tongue, and you hang on every word. Did you catch that? God speaks your what? Mother tongue. If you travel like I do, you're in other countries and you're in an airport and everybody's speaking a different tongue and you can't understand any of them. It's just noise. And all of a sudden you hear somebody go, Joe, there's a McDonald's. And you go, where's the American? Why? Because that's your mother tongue. You immediately go to it. You don't even try, you just immediately go to it. What about when you're listening to somebody do an interpretation? See, somebody's interpreting for me. The reason why I don't wait till they're completely finished and I talk over them and they talk over me is because the people that don't know English will not pay attention to what I'm saying. They'll just pay attention to him. Our mother tongue is God. In the midst of chaos, you can always hear him.